Hi, everyone. My name is Sage Skyler, and I know it says that on the screen behind me, but I wanted to start by reiterating that because if I was going to do a talk, say, 4 years ago, a very different name would be broadcasted up there. In fact, 4 years ago, I was a very different person. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like that. For all the students out there, I really hope you've changed since high school. And for anyone older than that, who maybe feels like they haven't had a significant life change in the past 4 years, false. Maybe you got married. I mean, I'd consider that significant. Maybe you got a new job. Maybe you have a cat. Maybe you discovered tomatoes aren't so bad after all. Maybe you grew and matured and learned and met people and changed. We all change. Life is a constant process of changing and evolving. If anyone here wants to tell me your body hasn't altered in the slightest since birth, please see a doctor. We grow older, taller, wider, our muscles develop, and then our bones become brittle, our hair falls out, etc. I'm sure this isn't news to most of us. Bodies aren't stagnant, and we are all in a permanent state of transition. But what if we decided to control that transition? Plastic surgery is common for the rich and famous, and the rich and not so famous. We take vitamins to manage our iron and calcium levels, and if you're a native New Englander, your probable vitamin D deficiency. Why do people do these things? Take medications, and get tattoos and piercings, and cut their hair and alter their body? Generally, it's because we want to feel happy in our bodies. Maybe you have long hair, and it keeps getting tangled, and you're wasting money on conditioner, and it's hot in the summer. So you cut it. Nice. Maybe, if you didn't take insulin every day, you would die if you're a diabetic, and then you really wouldn't be happy. We all just want to feel comfortable and confident. So why is changing one's body when the surface level reason is gender is often viewed as inherently different than any other way to change someone's body? In fact, what does transitioning even mean? And from here on out, I'm using that word to refer to the journey of genderqueer individuals unless otherwise specified. When most of us think of a transition, we think of what we call a binary transition. Male to female to male. Point A to point B, one side to another, no room for middle ground. And yes, there are binary trans individuals, and even they all transition differently. But what I want to focus on today are the non-binary individuals, those who don't fall within the confining labels of simply male or female, and how it is possible for them to transition when they are not moving from one set point to another set point. There are a few key points essential to this discussion about moving beyond the gender binary that I'd like to address. First, the binary as we know it today originated from a Christianized Europe and spread throughout the world via colonization. Being non-binary is not a new idea, and while other cultures and other countries may have had different names for it, viewing gender as A, the same as sex, and B, as only two options, is actually a sort of racist idea. Because while other places may have had gender discrimination and gender binaries, the way that it's presented in society today is based on the dominant white Christian idea. So yeah, the binary is actually the newfangled belief here. Secondly, dysphoria. For anyone involved in the queer community, you'll know that that's a bit of a hot topic right now. For anyone who's not, I'll give a brief recap. Most of the debate actually stems from misinformation. There are multiple types of dysphoria. The definition of the word is a profound state of unease or general dissatisfaction. Thanks, Google. Body dysphoria, as you might imagine, is feeling dissatisfied or unbearably uncomfortable in one's body. Gender dysphoria is feeling a disconnect between the gender assigned to one at birth and the gender one actually identifies with. Therefore, anyone who is not cisgender experiences gender dysphoria. Some of these individuals also experience body dysphoria, some do not. Many genderqueer people, however, including non-binary people, do experience body dysphoria. A lot of the time, we feel like we're too female or too male to accurately represent who we are and what we identify as. Some common causes of dysphoria for those assigned female at birth might be a high voice, the presence of breasts, femininely shaped curves, menstruation, whereas some causes of dysphoria for those assigned male at birth might be a low voice, a lack of breasts, facial or body hair, an Adam's apple, pronounced jawline, or other masculine facial features. Those are all some physical aspects of dysphoria. There are also other intangible reasons for dysphoria, usually derived from a social setting, that can cause unease in regards to one's gender. And that includes the name one gets called by, the pronouns someone uses to refer to that person, and even just their overall presentation and the way that society views them. So, how does dysphoria influence a transition? As I stated earlier, we all want to feel comfortable and confident in our bodies. Dysphoria is as much of a catalyst for a change as is a broken bone desperately needing surgery. In fact, sometimes even more so. Therefore, a gender-based transition is made to alleviate any dysphoria that occurs, in whatever form it takes, and that is different for every different individual. A transition can be divided into two pretty broad categories: medical and social. Aspects of a medical transition include hormone replacement therapy, also known as HRT, and some or multiple types of surgery. Surgery for those assigned female at birth might include getting their breasts removed. Depending on the size, this can range from periareolar to a double mastectomy. A hysterectomy is also a common procedure that many choose to undergo. Some surgeries for those assigned male at birth might be facial feminization surgeries or breast augmentations. And HRT is the absorption of testosterone or estrogen into the system, usually either through subcutaneous injections or a gel. Social transition is usually less permanent, requires fewer doctors, and is generally easier on the wallet. Some aspects of a social transition could include changing one's name, changing the pronouns one goes by, even getting a different haircut or a new style of fashion could be considered aspects of a social transition. Many non-binary people do present as rather androgynous. However, this perpetuates the idea that gender expression equals gender identity. If you're not male or female, you shouldn't look like either, is a sentence that too many non-binary people have heard far too often. In fact, what does a male person even look like? Short hair? False. Tons of women are out there slaying it with pixie cuts. Facial hair? Also not true. Do you know how many ladies wax their upper lip? A lot. Being muscular? Wrong. Probably every female athlete could crush me with as much effort as it takes to make a smoothie. And is that saying that guys who are skinny or chubby or aren't muscular don't look like guys? Because I don't think so. Contrarily, what does a female look like? Common answers include wearing dresses or skirts, having makeup, or long hair. Long hair is a source of pride and masculinity in many cultures, just not the dominant one. Furthermore, makeup is not indicative of gender, and neither is clothing. Take the Scots in their kilts, the Japanese in their kimonos. Fabric is just fabric. Nothing makes a gender except for the mental categorization and realization that, yes, this is a word that accurately describes how I feel about myself and my place in regards to the rest of the world. So, now we know that masculine and feminine presentation and expression are cultural constructions, usually based in European ideas, specifically the British. It's always the British. But even if we know that, society still makes assumptions. And so many non-binary people are often faced with the dilemma of, do I dress as far from my assigned gender at birth as possible in order to confuse people and avoid getting misgendered? Or do I wear an outfit that makes me feel great about my body, but I know I'll lose all confidence as soon as someone calls me by the wrong pronouns? And this isn't a daily battle. Sometimes you can please both yourself and society, and that's really great. However, that's not always the case. In a binary society, how do you present as something that most people aren't even aware is an option? The answer is balance. Misgendering, sadly, is unavoidable unless you are a binary trans person who is cis-passing. And that is an annoying, overwhelming, and honestly disheartening truth to have to come to terms with. But you can't make everybody see you as the way you want to be seen. And this doesn't go for just gender, but nobody can present every aspect of themselves to everyone else and be understood in the way that they want. So that's just life. One thing that I've found personally helps me is surrounding myself with friends who love and accept me and reaffirm and validate me. And even if the quantity of them is less than society, the quality of their words is greater. So, okay, we know that the gender binary is racist, gender dysphoria occurs with genderqueer individuals, and gender expression doesn't equal gender identity. Now, how the heck do non-binary people transition, and what are they transitioning to? The problem with that line of questioning is the underlying implication that a transition is a finite process. Every aspect of our lives, whether it be employment, political views, our body, our favorite ice cream flavor, is in a constant state of transition. Gender is no different. Someone may get surgery only once. Someone else may change their name 5 different times before they find one that fits them and feels comfortable. I inject hormones into my thigh every single Monday. Non-binary people transition just like everyone else, by taking steps, trying new things, and discovering what makes them comfortable. And that can change. For example, in elementary school, I absolutely hated jeans, sported sweatpants nearly every day. I don't know why, but I did. Middle school, complete opposite. I wore jeans all 3 years of middle school, even in the summer. Now, there's a pretty even balance between what I have on my legs, although I admit I'm not a huge skirt person. What happened in the past doesn't matter. What will happen in the future doesn't matter. The most important thing is what makes someone feel good and confident and at home in their body right now at this point in their life. There are many medical reasons why some people can't have surgery or health complications that stop people from taking hormones. Perhaps they are financially dependent on a disapproving family and can't legally change their name. Maybe that trans guy really likes having braids in his hair and doesn't want to cut it. Maybe that trans woman doesn't want to wear makeup because she breaks out every time and she's trying to take better care of her skin. Maybe that non-binary person knows they look like a cisgender girl, but they really don't want to go through second puberty and have to deal with the oily skin, the excess sweating, the receding hairline, and the acne. Oh God, the acne. And they don't mind their high voice, so who cares what everyone else thinks? At the end of the day, a lot of non-binary people do appear androgynous, or more appropriately, they disassociate themselves from their gender at birth in whatever way they feel is important to them. Even names these days are losing their place on the rigid gender binary. I know a lot of cis girls named Drew, and I have a female doctor named Jeremy, whereas I see cis guys out there with names like Mackenzie and Sky. However, if a genderqueer person associates their birth name with the gender that they were assigned at birth, perhaps a new name could signify a new acceptance and a new presentation of self. Other ways of exploring one's presentation of self could include just cutting or dyeing one's hair, getting piercings, getting tattoos, or even altering one's sense of fashion. Non-binary people are not necessarily trying to conform to the ideas of hyperfemininity or hypermasculinity, nor are we trying to make a new non-binary culture. What we're trying to do is live our best life as individuals who are just simply not male or female. That is it. That is all. The real transition is not a medical or social change, but rather the process of appreciating and accepting one's own identity. Everyone is in a constant state of transition. And then there are multiple transitions throughout life. High school to college, undergrad to grad, student to full-time employee, child to adult, etc. The list goes on. Some people may not go to graduate school and therefore don't have that added transition of undergrad to grad. And some people are comfortable with their assigned gender at birth and don't transition to living and presenting as anything else. Life is just a series of transitions, predominantly subconsciously, especially the mental ones, but that doesn't make them any more or less valid. We are all changing. We all want to be comfortable in our body. Gender is a mental categorization and way of relating to others in society. So live your best life, don't make assumptions, and fight the system. Thank you.